y'all, welcome to the channel. I'm finally starting it. If you don't know me, my name's Nugent. I am a professional golfer and a content creator on the side. I am so excited to start this channel and to share behind the scenes of everything I do with y'all, how I train, travel vlogs, day in the life vlogs, what I eat in a day, how I work out, everything that I can possibly share with y'all. And so anything else y'all want to see, just drop it in the comments below. And today's video will be mainly me talking about my story, how I ended up in Texas all the way from Canada and everything in between. So let's go. So I was born and raised in Canada in a town just outside of Toronto called Oakville. And I grew up playing sports pretty much all my life. I played tennis, I played soccer, just like every other kid. I played volleyball, I did track and field. My main sport was hockey, and then I obviously picked up golf. So my very first sport was tennis. And at the time, my brother Cole, who's a year and 9 months younger than me, just started playing hockey. So I was doing my little tennis lessons, my camps, my clinics, all that stuff. And my brother had just started playing hockey, and all of my extended family would go watch his games and like tournaments and stuff. And I was always jealous because I was like, well, no one wants to come watch me play tennis, because I wasn't playing in matches yet. It was just like lessons. I was just getting into it. And I was jealous because no one wanted to come watch me, and all of my family would go watch my brother. So I quit tennis and I picked up hockey just so my family could come watch me play. And I ended up falling in love with it. I played from when I was 8 years old to about 15, 16. And my main goal was obviously get a scholarship, play in the Olympics, and basically make a career out of it, because I wanted to be a professional athlete. That was my number one goal, like, for as long as I could remember. And so I played hockey until I was about 16, and when I was 16, or 15, 16, I don't really remember how old I was, to be honest. And I literally was like, well, there's no way I can make a career out of it right now, because at the time, there wasn't really a lot of money in women's hockey, and there wasn't a league that could basically, like, pay for everything for you and you can make a career out of it, right? So I ended up quitting and I started playing golf. Now, I've played golf in like summers, like summer camps and stuff. Like my dad and my mom would take me to the golf course and I would hit from like the 150 yards and in and stuff. So it was like super, like not serious at all. It would just be like for fun, right? And then about 2 years into it, I started playing tournaments. So in 2017 is when I started playing tournaments, my very first tournament, and it was a small tournament. I mean, small tournament up in Canada, not very competitive, and I actually won it. So that was a very big confidence booster. Not saying I like shot amazing scores or anything, because it wasn't very competitive, like I said, but it was a confidence booster for sure. And then my second tournament, I don't think I played well, and then like my third tournament, I won it again, and it was a Ping Invitational up in Canada. And it's funny because Brooke Henderson actually won that tournament back-to-back when she was younger. And it's basically 2 rounds of stroke play and then it gets seeded into match play. But there weren't a lot of girls in the tournament, so everyone made it into match play. And in stroke play, I shot a 99 and a 102. So when I say bad, like bad. So obviously I was ranked last in the match play. And I go up and I play the #1 seed and I win. And then I won all my matches. I think I probably shot like in the 70s when I played in match play. But I don't know what happened in stroke play. I don't know what happened in match play. It was just a wild experience. But it definitely was a confidence booster, so that was fun. And so I basically played in a lot of tournaments up in Canada. I wanted to go and play a D1 school and get a D1 scholarship down in the States. But I started late and I wasn't experienced as the other girls and talented players that are living in the States. So I decided to take a year off after I graduated high school, and I graduated in 2018. So I took a year off after high school and I actually moved down to Texas to basically be able to play all year round, practice, work on my game, play in some AJGA events, bigger, more competitive events, and get my name out there, start reaching out to coaches more, and get noticed. So that was my plan, and that's what I did, and basically, I worked my butt off that year. Let me tell you what my schedule looked like on a day-to-day basis. So basically, I would wake up 6 a.m., I would go to the gym about 6:37, I would be there for about an hour and a half, and this is when I fell in love with working out, lifting heavy weights. I absolutely loved it. So I did that, and then I would come home, eat breakfast, and I would go out to the course, I would practice, I would play, I would come back, eat lunch, and I would go out again, and I'd practice, and I'd play, and I'd work on the things that I thought were off when I played, and my dad would get home from work, and I would go out with him and practice literally until it was dark. I would be up when the sun was up, and then I would be outside when the sun was going down. And being in Canada, like, it's cold for pretty much half the year, and I basically wanted to just take advantage of Texas weather, and like, I thought it was always sunny in Texas. So I wanted to be outside when the sun was out, and that was my mentality. I just wanted to work my butt off and earn a scholarship and finally like play D1 college golf. I also started working with a swing coach, and I worked with him for about 4 years. It was Randy Smith, who works with Scotty Scheffler. He was such an amazing coach. He was such a field coach, and I'm such a field player, I would say. And so he really knew like how to talk to me, how to like teach me things and what to say. And he was very straightforward, straight to the point, very blunt, and I absolutely loved it. So he really changed my swing and took it to the next level, which is what I needed when I came down to Texas. So I started getting noticed by coaches. I was playing in AJGA events. I was playing in more competitive events. I played in like the North and South in Pinehurst. I played in, I think, 2 AJGA events. And then I played in like the USAM qualifiers and all that. And so I started getting noticed by coaches, and I was reaching out to more coaches, and I was talking to a lot of small D2 schools, but they were high ranked. So they were ranked like within the top 10 of D2 women's golf. And then I was talking to a lot of smaller D1 schools. So I ended up committing to a D2 school in Indiana. It was the University of Indianapolis. This school was ranked #1 in D2 women's golf. And they had just won the like national championship the like year or two before I got there, and then another year like before that. So I knew it was a great program. I liked the coaches, I liked the team. A bunch of the girls had the same dreams that I did, just playing in the LPGA. And so I thought it was a great fit for me. So I ended up going there. I played in my first event, my first college event, and I tied for second. So that was awesome. That was a great experience. And then I stayed there for about 2 years, and I decided to transfer because I knew I still hadn't reached my goal of playing D1 golf. Now, in the University of Indianapolis, we did play a lot of D1 tournaments, but I wanted to play at a D1 school, and so I decided to transfer. And that can be a scary thing to do, because when you transfer, you basically have to tell your coach, I want to transfer. You're not allowed to talk to coaches before you transfer, so you don't really have a place to go. And you're not sure of where you'll end up. So I told them, I was like, I want to transfer for ... reasons, whatever, right? And they have to put you in the transfer portal. Then you have to talk to coaches. So when you're put in the transfer portal is when you're allowed to email coaches, ask them to come watch you play tournaments. And so I started doing that, and it's a scary time because you don't know where you're going to end up, like I said. And so I was thankful enough to have 2 offers from schools, pretty good schools. So I ended up committing to the University of Texas, San Antonio, and I fell in love with the school. I fell in love with the facilities, the resources, the people, my teammates. Everyone had a great goal, and everyone was so driven to achieve the same goal I wanted to, which was obviously be on the LPGA Tour. And so everyone was super competitive, and it was a great atmosphere for me to be in and a great school for me to go to. So I committed there, and I loved that it was also in Texas, and we got to play year-round. So I played in my first event there, and that was a great event too. I don't know what's going on with my first events in college, but I was super nervous because it was like in front of D1 coaches, playing with like better competition, and so I ended up tying for 10th in that first tournament in Denton, Texas. It was North Texas' event. I tied for 10th. I shot 8 under overall, which is my best score to date overall for a tournament. And I remember just having a weight being lifted off my shoulders because I was like, okay, Hunter, you know you have this in the bag. Like, you don't need to stress. You don't need to stress yourself out about it. You can actually just play your game. You know you have it. So just go out there, stick to your routine, stick to your game, and just play well. So that was an awesome experience to have that as my first tournament at a new school. And so I played pretty good that whole year. I think I shot my best score in the spring. It was a 66 in a tournament. And then I played good for the rest of the year. And in the summer of 22, I qualified for the U.S. Women's Am. It was at Chambers Bay in Washington. A week before, I was working out, and it was back day. And I was doing barbell bent over rows. And I heard it, and I didn't know what happened. I had had this feeling before, the Christmas before, when I was doing a deadlift. And when I did the deadlift and it tweaked it, it didn't really last very long. So I was like, okay, I'm fine. It's just a little tweak, it's fine. But when I heard it doing my bent over rows, I knew something was wrong. So I texted my chiro and I was like, hey, I don't know what's wrong. Usually my back feels better throughout the day, but it hasn't gotten better. I wasn't able to do anything that day. So I texted him and I was like, hey, I need to come in. So I went in. I remember bawling on the table. And I was like, the USAM's next week. I don't know what I'm going to do. And my chiro, we need to get an MRI. So I go and get an MRI. Turns out it's a herniated disc. And that was tough. I mean, this was the biggest event I've ever played in to this day even. And I was so excited that I was going to play in and had the opportunity to. And now I was like, well, maybe I'm not going to go anymore. So I was like, what do I do? And he goes, well, you got to get a cortisone shot if you want to play, or you can't play. There's no way you can play with this bad of a back. So I went to a ton of doctors. I went to a stretching guy, I went to a massage therapist, I went to another chiropractor. I saw him again, and then it was a ton of stuff that I did the day after to make my back feel better. And so I basically went through all that, and I wasn't going to back out of playing the USAM, and I didn't want to take a cortisone shot. I honestly thought a cortisone shot might have hurt me more, just because it's the feeling of I'm okay, I feel fine, but if I feel fine, then I'm going to overdo it, if that makes sense, and I'm going to push it, and then I know once that cortisone shot wears off, it's going to be worse or whatever. That was my mentality. It was a very stressful time. And I'd never gone through that before, so I didn't take the cortisone shot, and I ended up going and playing the U.S. Women's Am. And thank goodness for my brother for caddying me that week, because I'm sure I was not pleasant to caddy for. I did try to make the best of it, but I did have a very hard time, and I was very frustrated because I literally wasn't able to practice that entire week. I played in the practice round on Saturday, and I only hit irons. And I didn't even hit driver, and then I played in the practice round the day before the event, finally hit driver without hitting it for a week. So it was very hectic. Everything was going everywhere. I didn't play well, didn't make the match play. But I mean, that wasn't expected considering what had happened. But I'm very thankful for my brother and my parents who were there supporting. But that was a tough time. So then I get back to school, and it's the fall season, and I basically am not able to play in any of the tournaments because my back. And so I ended up trying to play in the last event of the fall, but I did not play well. I mean, I was hesitant in my swing. I was scared I was going to feel that feeling in my back. And so I ended up, after the season had ended, and it was off season now, I ended up taking a month and a half off from swinging entirely. Swinging, chipping, I barely putt because it kind of hurt to bend over on my hamstrings and it would run up my back. And so I was doing physical therapy throughout that whole semester too. I was doing treatment with the trainers at UTSA. I was in there for 2 hours a day. And so pretty much every day too. And so I took the month and a half off in off season. I come back, and I remember my chiro, he was like, all right, Hunter, you got to start out with an hour of practice every day. You can't go and start out and play and do 4 hours of practice, because he knows that's what I would have done. Because that's just how I am. It's work, work, work. You got to get it done. Got to do this, And so I go in and I play, I'd do an hour of practice. And I remember if someone would come up to me in practice, I would set a timer, right? So I'd be like, all right, I have an hour. So I set the timer, and I was able to chip, putt, hit. And I mainly worked on my swing because I hadn't swung in a long time. So I remember, like, if someone would come up to me, I would pause the timer. If, like, I got a phone call or if I wanted to take, like, a little break, I would pause the timer just so I could use every single minute, every single second of that hour to work on what I needed to work on. Because I was stressed out, obviously, going into spring season that would have been my senior year. So I didn't really play a whole lot. I think I played in every event, but I mean, it wasn't good. So I ended up taking a 5th year, and I'm happy I did, just because I lost that entire year due to my injury. And so I graduated in May 24, but just before that, in March of 2024, I started taking my social media more seriously. I thought it was a very good thing to have on the side, and it's fun to do for me, especially because it obviously revolves all around golf, and that's what I do every day. So I started taking that more seriously, and I had some companies reach out to me, and Callaway was one of them. Shout out Johnny Wonder. He was the one who reached out to me and asked me to be a part of the content team for Callaway. So I started working with them, and I basically go to, like, their content shoots and stuff. And then I just started posting on my Instagram more, started getting more followers, and I thought it was a lot of fun. So I'm loving doing the content stuff. And so after I graduated, I ended up moving back with my dad in Dallas. And then I had the opportunity to move down to Austin to work with this indoor golf simulator place here in Austin. It's called Rock Golf. And they basically have TrackMans in all their bays, and it's a great spot to practice, to play on the TrackMans in the sims. And so I ended up coming down here. My goal is still to go pro, but that summer of 2024, I wanted it to be like my last amateur summer. So I played in my last AM events. I played in the Texas AM, US Women's AM qualifier. I didn't qualify, but I played in my last AM events. And then in September of 2024, I turned pro, and I played in the Women's All Pro Tour in Beaumont, Texas. Middle of September, and it was an interesting event. I didn't play great, I would say. My last round was good. I shot a 68 in my last round, and I actually have my tournament recaps for my 2 pro events in my Instagram, and I will link them below. So I played in that event, and I ended up tying for 5th. So I mean, that was great. That was a great first start. And then in November of 2024, I played in a Florida tour called the Next Tour, and I played in Ocala, Florida, just outside of Orlando, and I ended up tying for 11th. I was in the final group going into the last round, but again, like, I hadn't been in that position in a long time, so I was a little nervous, and it definitely wasn't comfortable. So I ended up tying for 11th, and that was also a great experience. After that, I don't know if I'm allowed to share this with y'all, but if it's in this video, then I am allowed because I asked. I went on a Golf Girl Games trip, and if you don't know who Golf Girl Games are, it is a newer YouTube channel. They are basically 4 main girls are on it, and they travel places and they play golf and they film and they do these competitions, and then they do these punishments afterwards for whoever loses. So the main girls are Sabrina, Alexis, Marissa, and Kaylin. And it is a super fun group of girls, and they asked me to go to Utah with them. So it was us 4, and then myself and another guest, Sydney. So we had an amazing time in Utah. It was so much fun. It was so beautiful. The rounds were a ton of fun. It was my first time being on, like, a YouTube channel, being in front of the camera. So I was a little nervous, but it was a great experience. And they actually called me a couple weeks after it happened, and they asked me to be on full-time. So I will be on GGG full-time as of 2025 this year. I think our first trip is end of February and like middle of March, somewhere in between there, I think. And it is going to be such a fun year traveling with them. I absolutely love the girls. They are a great group. There's no drama. It is so much fun. They're all so cool, all good at golf, so it's great competition. And it's just, like, it's so much fun. So I'm super excited about that. And yeah, so this will be my first full season of being a professional golfer. And it'll start in kind of like March, April, somewhere around there. And I'll be doing a lot of mini tour events. So the Women's All Pro Tour, as well as LPGA qualifiers. And I'm super excited about it. I'm super excited to be traveling a lot. And yeah, I'm just super thankful for everyone who's gotten me here today, like my family, my brother especially, for caddying for me, for being on the bag. And so I'm just super thankful and super grateful that I'm able to play professional golf, do content on the side, and share it with y'all. And if you have any ideas for videos, or if you want to see something, just drop it in the comments below. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. Bye, y'all.